Sports Network.
The Yankees' big guns are out this afternoon. Gary Sanchez, Gleyber Torres, as well as Aaron Judge, all in the Yankee lineup on a sun-splashed Sunday in Tampa, Florida. As we welcome you to Yankees Spring Training presented by Montefiore. It's the Yankees against the Phillies from George M. Steinbrenner Field. Hey everybody, Ryan Rucco along with David Cohn. So happy to be with you this Sunday afternoon for Yankees baseball on Yes. You know, David, I feel like in spring, you're always trying to get a feel for how do guys look, what kind of shape are they in. And thus far, Gleyber Torres has shined both defensively and offensively.
Well, yes, Ryan, it's true. And you kind of get the feeling that maybe Gleyber Torres took the criticism from general manager Brian Cashman to heart. And Cashman said maybe last year Gleyber wasn't quite ready, maybe not in the best of shape after the start of the season. So this year he came in ready to go. He's clearly leaner and better shape, moving much better. And so far, so good as far as swinging the bat. We know what kind of talent he has with the lumber in his hands.
You see how he started the season, the first 28 games, a real struggle, picked it up offensively the final 21 games after he worked himself into better shape and had a typical strong Gleyber Torres postseason, trying to cut down on those errors as well. Gleyber Torres will be at short today behind Jordan Montgomery. Back out there, a critical piece to this Yankee season. Montgomery will face the top of the Phillies order. Andrew McCutchen, Didi Gregorius, and Bryce Harper. It's all coming up next, right here on Yes. The Yankees Spring Training on Yes is brought to you by your local Ford stores. Ford is proud to be the official SUV of the New York Yankees. For current offers, visit buyfordnow.com. Beautiful early March afternoon in Tampa, Florida. Sailing towards the start of this one, we'll take a look at the Phillies starting lineup. Andrew McCutchen will lead things off. Didi Gregorius, old friend, bats second. Bryce Harper, who had a very strong season last year in the brief season, will bat third. Then Gene Segura, Andrew Knapp with JT Realmuto still out. Brad Miller, Matt Joyce, Roman Quinn, and Ronald Torreyes round out the Phillies starting lineup.
And Gumby, Jordan Montgomery on the hill today here in Tampa, ready to go right in the middle of the rubber he works from. He's 6'6", gets good leverage on all of his pitches, and this is a breakout year for him, I believe, Ryan. You look at those numbers there from last year, and you know, I'll get into it in the scouting report, the walks and the strikeouts. So that's a good ratio. His inside numbers are better than you think, and I think in the scouting report he is poised to step up this year. The Yankees really need him, a big lefty in the middle or towards the end of their rotation. Better than his ERA. Actually, his exit velocity, his contact management last year was very good, in the low 80s off the bat that he usually gave up in terms of contact. And his FIP, his fielder independent pitching, was around 3.7. That's kind of a stat you use to compare to his ERA, and if it's out of whack, you can look at maybe the luck factor. So I think Jordan Montgomery pitched much better than his ERA would indicate last year. Looking for a big year this year.
Take a look at the defense behind Montgomery to begin this afternoon. Gardner gets the start in left with Hicks in center, Judge in right. Miguel Andujar will man third base. Torres and LeMahieu up the middle. Voit at first, and Gary Sanchez catches Jordan Montgomery. Aaron Boone back in the dugout with the Yankees, returned yesterday after receiving a pacemaker, and you could tell was just so jazzed up to be back with the team, back in the dugout managing. We heard him chat with Meredith during Saturday's telecast and could just see this incredible energy from the Yankees manager, and great to see him back managing at George M. Steinbrenner Field this afternoon. So Andrew McCutchen will dig in with LeMahieu shaded Up the middle on the other side of second, and Jordan Montgomery's first pitch is just a bit high, ball one. See the way the Yankees shift for McCutchen. As McCutchen fouls that back, 1-1. You know, David, sometimes pitchers aren't always fully aware of those underlying numbers you were talking about, but Jordan Montgomery even referenced some of the things that were in your scouting report following his first outing in the spring, as LeMahieu had that played perfectly, and McCutchen is retired.
Yeah, it's a good point, Ryan. You know, when you try to evaluate last year, it was a 60-game schedule. The sample sizes across the board are so small that it's hard to really extricate any real knowledge out of what happened last year. So, you know, with Jordan Montgomery, you know, I really do believe he made some strides last year. He's a much better pitcher now than I think he was even in 2017, when he was one of the better rookie pitchers in both leagues.
Here's Didi Gregorius, who takes a strike. Didi is rocking number 95 just for today, not for this season. Forgot his number 18 in Clearwater. Hits that hard, but foul against the Yankee dugout. Catching up with his old teammates, Ronald Torreyes as well, who is in the starting lineup. Chatting with Miguel Andujar and Gleyber Torres. And you can see Gleyber bonk Didi on the head after checking out the number 95. And Didi with a weak wave at a nasty off-speed delivery from Montgomery. 2 down.
A really good-looking curveball from Monty, and perfectly located. Lefty on lefty, that is unhittable, and he got Didi to commit early, and he could not hold up.
Here is Bryce Harper. You see the .962 OPS in the limited season in 2020. Homered in his first at bat of the spring. And Montgomery deals just a bit outside. 94 miles an hour on that fastball from Montgomery. Harper was having an incredible season last year, then hurt his back at the end of August and struggled a bit in September as he takes a strike here, 2-1. But one thing he did, David, I mean, he totally flipped his walks and strikeouts. This was a guy who usually was striking out about 2 times as much as he was walking. Last season, he actually walked more than he struck out. He hits that off the inside of the bat, right to Torres, and that will end the inning. A smooth 1-2-3 first for Jordan Montgomery, top of the Yankees lineup coming up.
At 4.
A 1-2-3 inning from Jordan Montgomery. Take a look at the Yankees starting lineup. LeMahieu, Judge, and Hicks, with Giancarlo Stanton DHing batting 4th. Then it's Luke Voit, Gleyber Torres, Gary Sanchez batting 7th, before Miguel Andujar and Brett Gardner round out the Yankees starting lineup.
And on the mound for the Phillies, Zach Wheeler. You see last year in 11 starts, really good numbers across the board. Low walk rate. Strikeouts down a little bit compared to years past, but certainly overall very good numbers across the board. And the pitcher scout report, elite velocity, up to 97 miles an hour on average. That's at top shelf velocity, and minuscule walk rate. What a combination. A great fastball that you challenge a lot of hitters with, and a really low walk rate. And if it's not that, you know, another piece to the puzzle is he gets deep into the games. You know, you over 6 innings average per start, and that's such a rarity in today's game.
Here is DJ LeMahieu taking a strike from Wheeler. 94 on the first delivery from the Phillies right-hander. LeMahieu had a couple of hits on Saturday afternoon, or make that Friday here on Yes. The 0-2 to LeMahieu is tap foul. Judge, who hit the ball hard in all 3 of his at-bats on Friday, on deck. So LeMahieu cuts and misses at the fastball with a lot of life there from Wheeler, 1 down. Take a look at the Phillies defense across the outfield. Andrew McCutchen, Roman Quinn, Matt Joyce. In the infield, it's a former Yankee left side with Torreyes and Gregorius. Segura at second, Brad Miller at first, and Andrew Knapp catches Zach Wheeler. Here is Aaron Judge. Had a ground rule double on Friday and just ripped the ball in all 3 of his at-bats. Had 1 hit to show for it.
You know, Ryan, when you look at this Yankees lineup, and Aaron Judge certainly entrenched in the 2-hole. You know, Aaron Hicks is going to slide in, probably bat third to start the season, and Giancarlo following that up. Boy, you just wonder, how many games can we see that lineup this year? I mean, I know we harp on the health factor for the Yankees, but is this the year where we see a healthy Yankee lineup consistently, and what damage that this lineup could do if that does indeed happen this year?
So true, David. You think about the last couple of seasons navigating such large chunks of the year without key pieces and still performing at a top level offensively. And then you'd see those little snippets where it really does look like a Murderer's Row 2.0. That just misses. Good 2-2 delivery from Wheeler. 98. The count is full on Judge. And the 3-2. Grounded to the left side to Reyes. Will make the play. 2 out. Here's Aaron Hicks batting third. We've heard Hicks talk all spring, including on our Yes telecast, about how good he feels this spring. No more lingering issues coming back from his Tommy John surgery. We talked about Harper as a guy who actually ended up with more walks than strikeouts a season ago. Hicks is another one of those guys. Those two of just 9 players in Major League Baseball who could say that. And you see Hicks best in the American League when it came to plate appearances per walk in 2020.
Always the battle for every major league hitter to be aggressive but selective at the same time, getting good pitches to hit, and from the pitching standpoint, getting hitters to chase out of the strike zone.
Hicks would not chase there on a very close 2-1 pitch, and now it's 3-1 instead of 2-2. The 3-1 is tomahawked foul to the right of first. Count is full.
Definitely can see the life on Zach Wheeler's fastball early here in the first inning. You hear the pop of the mitt. You see the swings, especially up in the strike zone. A lot of life.
The 3-2 just missed. You heard the pop of the mid as Aaron Hicks draws a walk. And the Yankees have their first base runner of the afternoon. Here's Giancarlo Stanton. Stanton rips that to left field. That is a fair ball down into the corner. Hicks will stop at third. Stanton into second with a laser double. And the Yankees with runners on second and third and 2 down here in the first.
Very aggressive first pitch fastball and jumps on it. That ball is probably inside off the plate a bit. And that shows you how quick Giancarlo Stanton's bat is. That was an absolute rocket down in the left field corner.
That ball just smoked from Stanton. Sets the stage for Luke Voit here with second and third, 2 down. And Voit fouls that away. Now we see the Yankees in their pinstripes. Normally something they only do for the opener of spring training. But as Meredith Marakovits let us in on and reported just before the start of the game, this is something the Yankees are going to do every Sunday home game during spring. Put on your Sunday best, David.
I like it. You know, one of the first owners to do that was Charlie Finley with the Oakland A's, and they had a wedding day white, they called it, in the their old really super duper white unis. Yes.
Wedding gown white, the color of their uniform.
Yeah, wedding gown white. It was on Sundays. It was remarkable. Boy, they really stood out.
One and 2 on Voit now with second and third, 2 down. Stanton's double, by the way, 109.4 miles per hour off the bat. 1-2. Voit waves and misses, and Wheeler is able to navigate around the 2 out base runners. No score after 1. Jordan Montgomery going to come back out for the second. Welcome back to Yankees spring training, brought to you by Ford. A predictably beautiful afternoon in Tampa, Florida. It's 68 degrees and it feels like 68 degrees. Always nice when it feels like what it is. See the fans, maybe they've got the windbreakers broken out a bit. Of course, if you're in the sun, you don't need that windbreaker. Ryan Rucco, David Cohn, Meredith Marakovits with you, our entire Yes Network crew. Appreciate you hanging out with us on a Sunday afternoon as Jordan Montgomery begins inning number 2 of work against Gene Segura. Montgomery had a 10-pitch 1-2-3 first inning, retiring McCutchen, Gregorius, and Harper. And just misses with those first 2 deliveries, 2-0.
You know, Ryan, I have to talk to Meredith Marakovitz as she's all over anything according to the Yankees and what's going on in Tampa. But Jordan Montgomery probably going to get stretched out a little bit more here today. It's that time of spring where the starting pitchers are start to get up, you know, past the 50 pitch mark and closer to 75.
Through 2 innings on Tuesday. Good fastball there for Montgomery. The 2-2. Line drive. Backhanded by LeMahieu. The off-balance throw in plenty of time. Nice play from DJ LeMahieu to retire Segura for the first out of the second. David, you asked, and Meredith Marakovitz, you know, she will answer from George M. Steinbrenner Field. Isn't that right, Meredith?
There is no doubt about it. Expect him to probably throw about 3 innings, upwards of 40 pitches today. You know what? It's funny. I've been speaking with several coaches within the organization about Jordan Montgomery, and so far their evaluation has been incredibly consistent. They have been impressed early in the spring. He's another year removed from Tommy John surgery, and they feel as though he gets better every time he is out on the mound. His location is better. The pitches are better. His breaking stuff has much better shape. And from Montgomery's perspective, he feels strong, he feels healthy, and he came into camp about 15 pounds lighter, focusing on being lean and athletic instead of, David, you're going to love this, getting mixed up in the, quote, mass equals gas mentality. He believes he'll have better stamina on the mound, and he'll be better fielding his position, something that he struggled with at times last year. The organization and Montgomery think he is poised to have a very big year.
Outstanding intel, Meredith. And I mean, David, did you ever in your life think about going the route of mass equals gas? You're a lean guy. You had gas anyway. As that ball skied to right, Judge just in front of the track will make the catch. You ever experiment with a few extra calories in the offseason, see if it meant a few extra miles per hour on the fastball?
No, not really. You know, the one guy that I played with, David Wells, was like that, you know, even though he's in great shape now. After he retired, he got into good shape. But yeah, he really felt like, you know, that if he lost too much weight, he lost a little power. I know your podcast partner, CC Sabathia, felt that way, too, at times throughout his career. But that was never a recipe for me to use.
It is true. CC likes to joke that when he lost the weight, he lost the velocity, and all of a sudden it was a free pass for him to go back to eating whatever he wanted. Montgomery has looked very sharp thus far here today. 1-1 now on Brad Miller. Montgomery the other day also was talking about both Andy Pettit and CC reaching out to him consistently, taking him under their wing. And they will be very happy with the way Montgomery has started here today as Torres puts it away, and Montgomery another 1, 2, 3 inning. He's retired the first 6 that he's faced.
When I saw the news, I mean, for sure, who don't want to get the same money? I mean, that is motivation for everybody. And just try to continue to play like I play, try to get better, and nothing. We'll see on the future if I got the same opportunity to get a big contract for sure.
Well, Gleyber Torres leads off the bottom of the second in a scoreless game between the Yankees and Phillies. You'd have to imagine that Gleyber, as well as all young talent around baseball, took notice to Fernando Tatis Jr.'s 14-year, $340 million deal, David.
Well, it's so true. And, you know, we all know that there's a collective bargaining agreement that's come due after this year. And a lot of the players are talking about service time manipulation for guys in the minor leagues, for these type of long-term deals for players that haven't even played in the big leagues yet. We've seen some of those offers floated out around. So it is interesting to see what's going to happen as far as those issues go, where players get paid earlier or service time. There's some sort of remedy for service time manipulation. And certainly you see Fernando Tatis Jr. is a special case. There's not too many like him. And San Diego, too, the timing of everything, Ryan, just seems to fit. They're making their move now. And they really feel like, you know, they've got all the pieces coming together at the right time.
Yeah, fun team to watch. Tons of athleticism, some pizzazz as well. A lot of personality on that team and energy. And I think that contract also is Sanchez. Fists that one into right field. Sanchez goes the other way with a base hit, as Torres will hang on at second, and the Yankees with first and second, nobody out. That contract was so outside the realm of what you're used to seeing, David, that it also certainly garnered a lot of attention as Sanchez continues his strong start to spring.
Paul O'Neill
Always a good
would love
sign.
that approach.
Yeah, when he's using the whole field, David, right? That's always the best sign. And Duhar takes high and in, 1-0. But a walk to Torres, and Gary Sanchez continues his strong start to spring with a base hit the other way. And now Andujar facing Wheeler with first and second, nobody out. High and tight, 2-0.
You know, Ryan, it's always easy to second guess in this game, especially with regard to trades and young players. But do you get the feeling that Chicago White Sox regret trading Fernando Tatis Jr. for James Shields at this point? I mean, that one's going to sting for a long time.
And Duhar hits that hard and through into right field, a base hit. Torres is going to hang on at third, but the Yankees have the bases loaded, nobody out, after back-to-back base hits the opposite way from Sanchez and Andujar following the Torres walk.
Well, you could see that the Yankees know that Zach Wheeler throws a lot of fastballs. He's got a good one. And early in the count, they're ready for it. And hitting it where it's pitched and taking it the other way. Once again, Andujar following suit.
So bases loaded, nobody out for Brett Gardner. And Gardner fouls that away, 0-1. Just to not leave you hanging there, David, and put a bow on it. Yes, I do think that is going to be a trade that the White Sox regret for a very long time. The one thing Brian Cashman was talking about the other day, David, in regard to Brett Gardner, he said, look, this contract, this is not as a thank you to Brett Gardner. This is not about services paid in the past. This is about having a guy who we still believe is a serious contributing player to our team right now in present day.
'14th season, Ryan. Wow, that is, you know, not only the longest current tenured Yankee, but when, you know, there's going to be a day when there's going to be Old Timers Day again at Yankee Stadium in the future, and Brett Gardner's going to walk onto that field at some point down the road, and he's going to get a standing ovation.
Gardner hammers that high and deep to right field, and goodbye. A grand slam from Brett Gardner. A nice way to settle into spring for the Yankee vet. It's 4-0 Yanks.
Looked like something off speed, maybe a slider or a curveball. Definitely down and in, and Gardner's all over it. The only question was fair or foul, and that was easily fair for a grand salami for Brett Gardner.
Well, that's what Brian Cashman was talking about.
Like, it just makes too much sense. You know, you're the New York Yankees. You're trying to win the World Series. You've been knocking on the door for a few years now. And when you have a veteran guy like Brett Gardner that can play all three outfield positions, especially center field, back up and center, and be a fourth outfielder on your team and a veteran presence in the clubhouse, to me, it's a no-brainer. He's an obvious great fit for this roster that's trying to win a World Series championship. And it doesn't mean he's going to be the everyday starting left fielder. You know, Clint Frazier's already kind of, you know, been talked about as having that job by Aaron Boone. But when you've got Brett Gardner as a fourth outfielder, and you know what you're going to get, and you also get the veteran leadership out of the clubhouse, to me, it's a win-win for the organization and for Brett Gardner.
LeMahieu rips that to right, but right at Joyce. One down. Well, David, as much as Gardner struggled through, you know, the first 40-ish games of the season last year, 35 games, he finished really strongly. His final 13 games of the regular season hit .394 with a plus +500 on-base percentage. He was again one of the at-bats you trusted most in October. And that's
know
just
what you're going to get.
Yes, exactly. And that's speaking specifically about the offense. Obviously, you talked about the defensive value, David. The fact that you could play him anywhere out there and you know he's plus.
Not only plus, but what I would term elite. He is among a handful of outfielders that plays defense on a different level. Certainly top 5 level for a lot of years. Brett Gardner's been one of the very best defensive left fielders for a long time, and has really shown no signs of any regression in that category. I know you had him on your podcast recently too. I know Brett Gardner's a fun interview. I know he's got something to say.
He is terrific. He's one of the all-time great storytellers. I mean, you can sit back and listen to Brett just tell hilarious stories. And he was telling a story the other day about Freddie Garcia as Judge takes a look at strike 3, and he was just thinking about some of his favorite times as a Yankee. And there was Brett on R2C2 holding up his Fantasy Jocks belt for his championship, finally winning the Yankees Fantasy Football League this season. First time he ever has. And he was telling a story. He said, you know, whenever we get into Toronto, it's always so late at night. It's 3 in the morning, and we'll hear the rest of the story in a moment because we have a rollover inning here. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the New York Yankees and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the New York Yankees. After Brett Gardner's grand slam, the Yankees a 4-0 lead, top of the 3rd. Now, some fans, I'm sure, are wondering, well, why did that inning just end with 2 outs? That is what's now termed in spring a rollover inning. If a pitcher hits a certain amount of pitches, it can be agreed upon to end the inning to protect the pitchers. And rather than having to record that 3rd out, you roll over into the next half inning. So that's what happened there with Zach Wheeler in the 2nd.
I understand that rule, Ryan, but I hate it. I mean, I really hate that rule. It's just me. I'm sure I've got some friends that don't like it either.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Right in the middle, you were telling a great story. You were telling a great story, and that was very rude of them.
That's what I was going to say, David. It completely throws off the old adage of never start a story with 2 outs, right?
Exactly.
That's lifted in the air to shallow center. Torres out, and that one's just going to drop in front of Hicks. It looked like Hicks never really got a beat on it, and that's the first base run of the game for Philadelphia as Joyce reaches.
If you look up blooper in the dictionary, there's a picture of that right there. That is a classic blooper.
More of that soft contact we were talking about in regard to Jordan Montgomery that he was plagued by a season ago. So I'll finish the story, David. When we had Brett Gardner on R2C2 this week, CC in my podcast, and he's such a great storyteller that we kind of just put him on the spot and said, all right, think about all your years with the Yankees. What's a story that, you know, is one of your favorites? And he said, you know, whenever we would get into Toronto, it'd always be ridiculously late at night. It felt like it'd be 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. You get through customs and you're dragging going to the hotel. And he said this particular year, customs took like 90 minutes. And it's about 4 in the morning. And we'd have a player's bus, coach's bus. We were on the player's bus. And everybody's a little loopy, you know, just it's so late at night. And Freddie Garcia gets on the mic and starts the mic on the bus. And he starts doing playoff analysis of what the Yankees are going to be like in October. Now, he's, of course, one of their pitchers. And he basically interviews himself and goes, so what's the starting pitching plan for October? And Garcia goes, Game 1, Sabathia. Game 2, Sabathia. Game 3, Sabathia. Game 4, Pettit. Game 5, Sabathia. And Gardner just loved it because it was 2012 when we know the Yankees were ridiculously reliant upon CeCe in their rotation, and Garcia obviously poking fun at himself, holding court on the bus, not even including himself in who should get an October start. Montgomery going to be a tough play, and he'll have to put it in his pocket. So first and second with nobody out. Gardner finished it up saying they all got in at about 4:30 in the morning and decided to go to McDonald's as a team. Back when you were allowed to do that kind of thing, David.
Well, this is true. I mean, I feel for these current players because you just cannot hide. You can't. If you're caught in Toronto at 5 in the morning going to McDonald's, somebody's going to hear about it somewhere. There's going to be a picture on Twitter somewhere about that.
Skied in foul ground right of first, and Voit just runs out of room as it clangs off the top step of the dugout. First and second, nobody out on a blooper and a little dribbler. That's just a tad high to Torres, 2-1. Joyce leads off second, Quinn off first. And it's 2-2.
You see Jordan Montgomery's pitch count right there, 35 pitches right now. You know, Meredith Marakovits told us around 40 today, somewhere in that neighborhood. So we'll see, with nobody out here in the third, how far he'll be allowed to go.
That's hit hard, but right at Torres, who throws to LeMahieu, couldn't hang on. But Torres retired on the line out to Gleyber.
Well, after the blooper and the dribbler were hits, that line drive is an out. And almost counted for 2. That's baseball, Susan.
I just saw John Sterling a moment ago, David. John Sterling calling the game on radio from our Yes Network studios, where I am as well. You know what's amazing about John, David? He still has on his blazer and tie as Loizaga warms up. You know, he's not going to the ballpark. He's just here in Stamford. He's on the radio, blazer and tie. He's always so sharp. That's grounded to third. Nice play by Andujar. On to second for one. Back to first. Not in time. But a nice pick from Miguel Andujar over at third to cut down the runner at second. 2 away. Oh, on March 15th and March 22nd, the boys are back together. John Sterling and Michael Kay here on Yes. That is must-watch spring training baseball here on Yes. There's Didi Gregorius. That was a foul tip into the glove, so it's going to be 0-1. I just loved listening to Michael and John together. Growing up in this area, David, hearing them call those late 90s Yankees together, they were just an incredible duo. It's going to be so fun to have them back together March 15th and 22nd. Four championships together on the air. It might be the spring juju this 2021 Yankees team needs to get a ring.
You know, in that broadcast, you know, that duo was always on in the clubhouse at Yankee Stadium. As you know, Ryan, I was there right in the middle of the 90s Yankees. And
got to hear plenty of it as Torres throws out Gregorius, and Montgomery works around first and second, nobody out, 3 scoreless for Montgomery. Well, Wednesday night, catch another spring training contest on Yes as the Yankees host the Pittsburgh Pirates under the lights at Steinbrenner Field. David Cohen, Meredith Marakovits, and I will have the call starting at 6:30 right here on Yes. Well, the Yankees played the Pirates yesterday in Bradenton as Aaron Hicks leads off the bottom of the third. Meredith, what went down in Bradenton yesterday for the Bombers?
Well, Ryan, it was shaping up to be a pretty cool afternoon for both Yankees and Pirates fans because both Garrett Cole and Jameson Taillon were scheduled to pitch that day. Cole wound up staying here and doing a simulated game because of the weather. He threw upwards of 50 pitches, came through everything fine. As far as Jameson Taillon is concerned, 39 pitches, 24 for strikes. Now, in his second inning of work, he gave up 2 singles and a walk to load the bases. Pitchers usually like to avoid that type of traffic, but for him, it was something something that he actually enjoyed because he hasn't been in those game situations in quite some time, and he liked the idea of having to figure out how to hold runners on, mixing up tempo, mixing up looks to second base, and he actually looked at that as a good thing. He was able to pretty much get out of that inning and was pleased with the way he threw the ball. Also noteworthy, Clint Frazier, as you guys mentioned earlier, it looks as though he is the starting left fielder for the Yankees this year. Hit an absolute bomb to left field yesterday, his first home run of the spring.
Well, a good sign for Frazier and great news on Taillon. It's interesting, David, that would be, as Meredith said, sort of counterintuitive, not normally what you want as a pitcher. But Taillon talking about just wanting to feel some of those, those aspects of being in a game that you can't duplicate until you're back in those situations, like having to work through trouble.
Yeah, it's a great point brought up by Meredith, as usual. That's what you want as a pitcher, and that's what you want for a pitching coach, too. You want to see what the reaction is of your pitcher when he gets in a jam. And being able to calm yourself down and still make quality pitches. Trust your stuff. All things that sound like cliches, but they're really true, especially when a pitcher gets in a jam.
That's just a tad low as Hicks takes it for a ball. Hicks walked his first time up. And he swings and misses here. Fourth strikeout for Wheeler, and the first out of the bottom of the third. I'll bring up Giancarlo Stanton, who just hit an absolute seed down the left field line. His first time up, as Girardi will have a little conversation with Wheeler, and the Phillies will go to the bullpen. Welcome back to Yankees Spring Training, brought to you by Ford. Ryan Rucco, David Cohen, Meredith Morakovitz with you. We so appreciate you hanging out with us on this Sunday afternoon as Joe Girardi and the Phillies go to the bullpen. J.D. Hammer into the game for the Phils after the start from Zach Wheeler. The Yankees a 4-0 lead. Bottom of the third inning, and Giancarlo Stanton, second at bat of the afternoon after ripping a double in his first. Pretty solid pitcher's name, right, David? J.D. Hammer.
Yes, I mean, you would think. That was a pretty good slider there, too. I mean, a hammer's usually a curveball for pitchers, but yes.
With that last name, I mean, you have to throw a good curveball then.
Yeah, you would think. Dwight Gooden had what you called a yellow hammer.
Lord Charles. As Stanton goes down on strike, so I guess the count was slightly different than initially interpreted, as that was called strike three on the heater down the middle. Here's Luke Voit. Voit struck out his first time up. Off the end of the bat, into shallow center. The catch is made by Roman Quinn to end the inning. 3 up, 3 down in the bottom of the third as we speed towards the fourth with the Yankees holding a 4-0 lead. Yankees a 4-0 lead on the Montefiore scoreboard. Well, Gary Sanchez has had a really strong start to his spring. We've seen it behind the plate. We've seen it at the plate. Sanchez showing power to all fields, which we know is when he's at his best. Already 2 home runs, including that one over the batter's eye. We saw Friday him throw out a runner, and earlier today, Meredith caught up with Yankees catching coordinator Tanner Swanson.
Tanner, Aaron Boone made the comment that Gary Sanchez has looked very at ease behind the plate. What stood out to you about the way Sanchez has looked here early in 2021?
I think I'd echo, the same thing. It's a combination of comfort, confidence, and just an overall refined process. I think he's really committed himself this offseason to diving in and not just refining the techniques and the initiatives that we started last year, but really owning them. I think the dynamic has really evolved from maybe a coach to player directive to now I think a true kind of partnership where his voice is really it's really strengthened, and the communication I think has improved and continues to evolve. But just his overall process has been the most impressive thing, regardless of the early results we're seeing. The work he's putting in behind the scenes and the commitment level has been really positive.
When you look back to last season, how much of it was not buying in, and how much of it was him just needing more reps and more time?
I think it was the latter. I never questioned the buy-in. I don't think he would have gone through some of the adjustments if he didn't believe that they were in his best interest. I think he believed them all along. I just think in the middle of a season, it's extremely challenging to really expand and experiment. And when you're going through the type of overhaul that we went through last year. It requires time, and sometimes the middle of a season is not the best time to be trying new things. So, a bulk of the work was done in spring training. We kind of laid the foundation, and then we largely kind of went with what we had at that point and tried to make small refinements along the way. But really, the off season, in my opinion, is the best time to really dig in and kind of evaluate, the strengths, the weaknesses, maybe the limitations, and how we can continue to make refinements. To make the system even more robust, and I think this offseason has really allowed him to do that. And there were a lot of people involved. Aaron Gershenfeld, our minor league catching coordinator, Julio Mascaro, has really stepped in and been a big contributor in terms of just the collective effort. And but largely it's been Gary. He's been driving the ship, and that's been I think the most impressive part.
Tanner, it's still early in spring, but what's an area that you would still like to see him continue to grow?
I think just continue to refine the moves. I think we're seeing fewer of the kind of the mishaps in terms of pitches within the zone that maybe he doesn't catch as well as he would like. I think those are becoming fewer and fewer, and the overall just adjustability has been a big focus. When you expect the ball in and it's away, or you expect it up and it's thrown down, and just being able to adjust to missed locations or unexpected movement. And so we've really tried to enhance kind of the variability from a training standpoint. And I think we're seeing some early carryover into the games. And so that's really been the bulk of kind of what we're trying to accomplish behind the scenes is to create a really sound process, a really sound routine where we can maximize reps, but also manage workload. So he's not just trying things for the first time, when the lights come on.
Tanner, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you.
Well, really interesting insights there from Tanner Swanson with Meredith. David, how about from your perspective, small sample size, beginning of spring, but what has stood out most to you watching Gary thus far?
Yeah, that was a great interview. You're right, Ryan. I was especially interested in Tanner Swanson talking about Gary Sanchez improving, and what we've seen some this spring training already is we talk about framing pitches a lot, and you tend to think of, oh, well, those are pitches that are off the plate. that you frame and you're stealing strikes. But the most important thing for a catcher is not to lose strikes in the strike zone, especially if you're setting up inside and then the ball ends up away or up, as Tanner Swanson said right there. Though you're looking for it up and it's down just a little bit, and your adjustment can take a pitch that's in the strike zone out of the zone by the way you catch it. So that's the most important part. I think we've seen that in spring so far, that Gary's much better at that. It was a problem in the past that Gary, if he was set up inside and if you didn't throw it there, there was a chance that his reaction wasn't going to be, on cue to save a strike that's in the zone.
That lands right in front of Gardner for a little 2-out base hit for Andrew Knapp. David, I also think with Gary, getting off to a good start is so important. He is somebody who we've heard Yankee coaches throughout the years, including Marcus Timms, talk about, when he starts off and sees, 1 something on the scoreboard next to his batting average. Now he's trying to get it all back in one swing, trying to do too much because he knows how talented he is and what he's capable of. And after putting in that work in the offseason and obviously coming off a tough season last year, it's got to help his confidence a lot just to have the start to spring that he's had thus far.
It's so true and so hard to put a number on confidence. The human element is still so very important. In today's game, when we kind of overanalyze things, we have sabermetrics, we have analytics, we have all sorts of things that we can talk about in terms of how they coach nowadays, how they prepare, how they gather information. But it still comes down to sometimes just old-fashioned confidence. And Gary lost it last year. We saw it before our eyes.
Lifted in the air to center and deep. Hicks drifting back, has plenty of room and makes the catch for the final out of a scoreless 4th inning from Jonathan Loaisiga. We go to the bottom of the 4th. Yankees Spring Training on Yes is brought to you in part by FanDuel Sportsbook. There's more ways to win on FanDuel. And by Cadillac. Visit your Tri-State Cadillac dealer and experience the ultimate in iconic luxury. Bottom of the 4th inning on the Montefiore scoreboard. Yankees a 4-0 lead on the Phillies. A grand slam by Brett Gardner accounting for the Yankees' 4 runs. It's reunion day here in Tampa. Ivan Nova on the mound after spending his 2020 season with the Tigers. Joins the Phillies here for 2021.
The veteran now, Ivan Nova. Well, that hurts a little bit, Ryan, for me to say that, because I watched him break in as a rookie, and now he's a veteran, and I'm just an old goat up here talking about it. So, yes, Ivan Nova, the veteran pitcher, sinker baller. Kind of know what you're going to get from Ivan Nova nowadays. He's not really a swing and miss guy. He's going to pitch to contact and hopefully gets the ball on the ground and gets a lot of ground balls.
Spent 6.5 seasons with the Yankees. Had that stellar 2011 season when he was 16-4 with a 3.70 ERA. How about this? Pinstripes of a different color indeed. Look at all of these former Yankees who are now a part of the Phillies. Torres hits that hard, gobbled up nicely by Gregorius, who throws out Torres for the first out. Now, you were just talking about Gary Sanchez, David, the improvement you're seeing when it comes to the framing, when it comes to his positioning as well. And here is how he's done via different catching coaches, with Tony Pena back in 16-17. Then things struggling a bit in 18-19, and now we'll have his first full season with Tanner Swanson at the helm. Gary singled to right field his first time up. He fouls that straight back, 1-1. We know if Gary Sanchez isn't right, he is right. He just becomes an unbelievable weapon for this team. Think about the damage they've been able to do offensively, even when Gary has struggled. Well, you know when he's right, he's as dangerous as anybody in the lineup.
There's just not that many catchers with this type of offensive ability out there. When you think about in today's game, this is all time. Catcher's all-time slugging percentage. When you look across the board, Ryan, you know the Phillies have one, and Realmuto is an outstanding catcher, but those front line, both offensive and defensive catchers, at least they can throw the ball and throw out base runners, are few and far between.
Two. Well, we saw for years. I mean, and if you look at Yankees history, there are plenty of them. But most recently, we saw for years what an advantage it was having it in Jorge Posada. Having someone who is such an excellent offensive player and also could play the position defensively, had the arm, obviously. It's an advantage over almost any team in baseball when you have that behind the plate. As Sanchez swings and misses. Second out of the inning. This was Gary's quote on bouncing back, courtesy of the outstanding Marley Rivera of ESPN. It was a bad year, and it wasn't a year. It was 60 days. And now I have to listen to all the negative comments, everything that everyone has to say about me, because the truth is that I played badly at the plate. Let them say what they want. I deserve it. That will make me better and stronger. This is always a difficult game, David, as you know way better than I ever will. But it gets amplified some being in New York, obviously. And then in a social media era, too, for these guys, navigating it where you have more direct access to the emotions of those following you and watching you. It adds another layer of difficulty as far as navigating the natural failures of a baseball season.
It's a great point, Ryan, and certainly magnified in New York playing for the Yankees. There are certain players that become lightning rods. Whether that's fair or not is irrelevant. You know, for the Yankee fan base, it's been Gary Sanchez, and it will continue to be. So all the more reason that it's important for him to get off to a good start.
Roll to Gregorius. And the throw skates away from Miller as Andujar will reach on the E6.
It's a rare throwing there from Didi Gregorius. You can see Brad Miller, not normally a first baseman, over there with not much of a chance to pick that one.
Andujar takes second on that throwing error as Gardner looks at strike one. Brett Gardner's grand slam has accounted for all 4 runs in this game. That came in the second inning off of Zach Wheeler. A down and in breaking ball that Gardner just smashed to right field. Absolutely crushed by Gardner. This Skies that one the other way and foul. Two and two on Gardner, with Andujar on second, and 2 down in the bottom of the 4th. Now, you mentioned, David, that Miller at first, not his normal position. Rhys Hoskins, normally the first baseman for Phillies, had Tommy John surgery in his left elbow. Expected to be ready by the start of the season, but the Phillies have a few of those injuries with some of their main pieces waiting for them to work back. JT Realmuto, another one, had a fractured thumb.
You know, it's a good point, Ryan. You get the feeling that a lot of these National League teams kind of got used to the idea of having the designated hitter rule last year, even though it was only 60 games. So Joe Girardi certainly knows the rules on both sides of the aisle, but I know for a fact he would prefer to have the DH this year, and it's not the case, as pitchers will have to hit in the National League this year as of now, barring any unforeseen change between now and opening day.
Great eye from Gardner. He works the 2-out walk. As we take a look at today's injury report, brought to you by Montefiore Doing More. So Realmuto fractured his right thumb on February 12th. Had a hard cast removed this week and is expected to be ready by opening day. One of the things he talked about was, look, I mean, last year had to ramp up so quickly for the start of the season with the summer training camp that having just 3 weeks isn't that daunting to be ready for opening day this season. And he broke his thumb right before the start of camp trying to block a ball in the dirt from Jose Alvarado, who throws in triple digits. One of the new acquisitions to try and bolster a Phillies bullpen that was woeful last season. LeMahieu kind of half swing serve into foul territory and down into the Yankees bullpen.
Well, you mentioned, you know, with the Phillies, Ryan, it starts and ends with their bullpen. I mean, their bullpen last year was did they not only struggle, it was historically bad in terms of numbers. And nothing is more derailing emotionally for a team than losing leads late in games.
Nice breaking ball there from Nova, 1-2. Yeah, that Phillies bullpen had an ERA right around 7 last season, which was, as you might predict, worst in baseball. Had more blown saves than they did saves. They also didn't have a lot of hard throwers, David, and that was a point of emphasis for Joe Girardi this offseason, trying to get some more velocity coming out of their pen. Dave Dombrowski brought in as the new president of baseball operations for the Phillies. Runners went, or at least Andujar did. Saw he wasn't being paid attention to by Nova, said, all right, Gardner did not follow. And so first and third with 2 outs now, and the count 2-2 on LeMahieu.
Yeah, you can see the catcher doesn't even bother making an attempt to throw as Andujar with a running start.
The 2-2. Flip foul. Still 2-2. The 2-2. LeMahieu lines that, snared by Nova to end the inning. So a nice athletic snatch there from Ivan Nova to end the threat through 4. The Yankees a 4-0 lead. Thursday on Yes, the piping hot Brooklyn Nets return from the All-Star break for a marquee matchup with the Boston Celtics at Barclays Center. Live coverage starts at 7 o'clock right here on Yes. The Nets have just been playing some incredible basketball. Going to be fun to see them start the second half of the season against the Celtics. Ian Eagle, Sarah Kustok, Michael Grady, our good pals. I'll have the call of that one here on Yes. Top of the 5th inning, Yankees a 4-0 lead on the Phillies. Jordan Montgomery worked 3 scoreless innings, looked incredibly sharp, was efficient. Only 2 hits he gave up were a blooper and a little infield bleeder. And Jonathan Loaizaga, his second inning of work, as he deals outside to Matt Joyce. It'll be 7, 8, and 9 in the Phillies order.
Well, you mentioned it, Ryan, you know, and just to go back to what you were talking about, but the Nets are fun to watch this year. I know you've had some fun watching that team play, calling some of those games, and James Harden.
Little base hit to center field for Joyce. No doubt, David, they are just so entertaining to watch on a night-in, night-out basis. Harden is incredible. Some talk about maybe them adding Blake Griffin as well. Not that they need it, but it is a show to watch as we have a chance now to welcome in the manager of the New York Yankees. Aaron Boone joins us now with a runner on first, nobody out in the top of the 5th inning. Aaron, first and foremost, welcome back, and so great to see you healthy and energized after your procedure. I'm guessing Aaron can't quite hear us, so we will work on that with Aaron's headset. Roman Quinn, ready to field single his first time up. And it's 1-2 on Quinn. Swing and a miss. Loizaga fans Quinn for the first out of the 5th.
Loizaga very sharp here today. 97 miles an hour on his top end velocity, and a really good changeup to go with it, as that was to finish off the last hitter with a strikeout.
Now, the two former Yankees in the starting lineup here for the Phillies, Ronald Torreyes, Didi Gregorius, both wear their masks while playing.
Hello?
There's the Yankee manager. Aaron, it's Ryan and David. Can you hear us? Hello, Aaron. Well, we know Aaron is not a rude man, so it's clear that Aaron just cannot hear us right now. Let's try it one more time. Aaron, can you hear Ryan and David?
Yes, yes.
Torreyes grounds this to first. Voit goes to second for one. Back to first in time. A very nicely turned 3-6-3 double play. Download the MLB app to get in-game video highlights, live pitch-by-pitch, breaking news, player updates, stat leaderboards, and more for your New York Yankees and the rest of the league. Ryan Rucco, David Cohn, Meredith Marakovitz with you on this Sunday afternoon. The Yankees a 4-0 lead, courtesy of Brett Gardner's grand slam. Yeah, fans masked up, bundled up in some cases in the building. Ivan Nova's second inning of work as he deals low to Aaron Judge. We have worked things out technically, and we'll chat with Aaron Boone in the top of the 6th inning. And Matt Blake, Yankees pitching coach, in the bottom of the 6th inning. Judge 0 for 2 is grounded out to third and struck out thus far this afternoon. Hits that on the ground to third again. Torreyes will toss out Judge. One away. Aaron Hicks stepping in with a walk and a strikeout today. Strike from Nova, Von Nova. Trying to make the team on a minor league deal. There's action in the Yankee pen. You know, David, there are certainly people who love to style their home runs, but there are a more select few who do the same with walks, as Hicks rolls out to second here. But two of the greatest we have in contemporary baseball when it comes to styling on walks are in this game. Andrew McCutchen and Aaron Hicks, who when they were teammates kind of had a little bit of a contest going back and forth for who could put more sauce on a walk.
Put some spice in the base on balls, right? I mean, it's really it's fun to watch. Getting on base.
In the era of analytics, where the walk is valued properly, you might as well draw some attention to it.
You know, Andrew McCutchen, one of the great characters of the game. You know, he's such a solid player for so many years. His tenure as a Yankee was very good. Very much liked and respected in the clubhouse, a real leader. He was for the franchise, for the Pirates for all those years. Kind of a dream #1 draft pick for the Pirates. They got a lot of bang for their buck, and then obviously he moved on. They traded him to the Yankees and then signs with the Phillies. You can see in his 12 major league seasons there with an MVP on his resume. Pretty impressive career.
Sanchez laces that to center field, and that is going to buzz over the head of Quinn and go to the wall as Stanton smokes that to center. Giancarlo Stanton with his second double of the day.
Well, how many times have we seen this over the last few years with Giancarlo Stanton? The only thing that's missing with him is just, let's see how many he can hit like this with 500 or 600 at-bats this year. Just stay healthy. Because when he hits it, it stays hit as much as anybody in the game.
So Stanton's afternoon is done after 2 absolutely laced doubles. And Michael Beltre pinch running for Giancarlo Stanton. Well, David, we saw Stanton have that absolutely dynamic October, putting up quality at bat after quality at bat against top pitching and doing serious damage. And Aaron Boone said he thought what we all saw from Stanton and his quality of at bats in October was at an even higher caliber than what we saw from Stanton in his MVP season with Miami.
Yeah, a real game changer. I mean, we saw it in postseason, and you want to see that, you know, from Stanton. The Yankee fans haven't really seen a full year of it. He can get on these rolls and these streaks where he can just own the game. When I say game changer, I mean he can win the game all by himself.
All fields, missiles, moonshots. Beltre gets back to second. And Voit able to draw a walk. So 2 on now with 2 out, and Gleyber Torres coming up. Speaking of former Yankees, Phillies pitching coach Caleb Cotham, who was a Yankee draft pick in 2009, pitched 12 games with them in 2015. And another former Yankee we just saw warming, and Brian Mitchell. Chris Gittens will pinch run for Luke Voit. as Torres takes strike one. Big swing there from Glaber, and it's 0-2. That one scoots away from Knapp, and the runners will move up. Second and third now with 2 down. Glaber grounds that towards the middle. Gregorius to his left will throw out Torres and end the thread. After 5, Yankees 4, Phillies nothing. Aaron Boone coming up. Top of the 6th inning on the Montefiore scoreboard. Yankees 4, Phillies nothing. We get a chance now to chat with Yankees manager Aaron Boone. Aaron, we appreciate your patience and apologize for the technical issue. Our operations and tech team, they've been so incredible handling all these complexities. But of course, there are still issues from time to time. So thank you for your patience and coming back to us here in the 6th inning.
Yeah, no problem. I was late though, so it's on me too. I was a couple hitters late, so all good.
Full accountability. Even when it's not necessary, I love it. First and foremost, Aaron, it's so great to see you back managing, healthy. How are you feeling after the procedure?
I feel great. I really do. I'm so glad I got it done now and out of the way, and you know, just made me realize how good I was not feeling the months leading up to that. Just wasn't quite myself. Just had to kind of reach for it a little more than normal every day, and you know, since I came out of surgery, I almost instantly felt like a different guy again. So it's really nice, and the outpouring of support and people that have reached out to me has been really touching.
You know, we heard you with Meredith the other day, Aaron, and sharing some of these thoughts, but what made you finally say, hey, I need to do something about this right now?
Well, back home in Connecticut, I felt like I needed to get checked up. Just, you know, I've been getting my heart checked on now for 30 years, you know, knowing what I've been through in the past and stuff. So I just wanted to make sure, went through some checkups, and everything was checking out well until I wore the monitor and they realized, you know, my heart rate was low and not, you know, rising properly. And, you know, I think it was a classic case of the pacemaker being needed. So I had a lot of conversations with my doctor in California, who I've known for 30 years, who I know really well. He kind of talked me through it, and so I knew there was a level of confidence that I needed it, but that it was going to really make a difference for me, and it certainly has.
Well, that is great to hear, and it's great to see your energy out there and know you are feeling better. I'd imagine also made you feel pretty good watching your starting pitcher today. What'd you think of Jordan Montgomery?
Yeah, another really good step for him. You know, 2 innings last time out in Sarasota, and then the command, just the you know, pounding of the strike zone, really in control. You know, in his 3 innings there, even the inning where he got into a little bit of trouble with some soft contact against him, he's able to, you know, not flinch and just work his way out of that. So I thought, all in all, a really good day's work to get to his 3 innings, but also really pitch efficient as well.
Yeah, Aaron, welcome back. We were all pulling for you and feeling for you, and thought you did a great job of handling everything, keeping everybody at ease, including your team, to understand what was going on and educate them. And obviously, when you come back, you're right back into the thick of things, and then you got a weather day, and you got to make a quick call. Garrett Cole's not going to go down. We're going to do a simulated game. How did that work out for Garrett Cole?
Yeah, I think it was good. We got with Garrett and kind of, gave him the lay of the land and ultimately let him make the call. Like, do you want to play around with the weather, or do you just want to go ahead and get it done? I think at this point in spring, I think Garrett made a wise decision to just, be able to get his work in, knowing it was just going to be a 2-inning situation of, he actually ended up getting close to 50 pitches, which was good. But I think later in the spring, where you're talking about 4 and 5 innings, maybe more of a decision. But I thought it was good to get it in and out of the way and get him built up. Also allowed Jameson to start that game down there. So all in all, with some of the weather issues we had, I was happy that our guys were able to get the proper work in.
Speaking of Jameson Taillon, Aaron, what stood out most to you about watching his start yesterday?
Well, coming off the first start, and obviously you're coming back from injury and your new team, so you just want to get all these firsts out of the way. And I thought in his first start he was really good. He threw 7 pitches, so it was almost like he almost didn't break a sweat out there. We sent him down to the bullpen to finish off, and then for him to go and have a real clean first inning, give up a couple hard hit balls, and get into a little bit of trouble in his second inning where it drove his pitch count up. He had to hold runners. He had to get on the same page as far as just, sign sequencing with a runner on second base, things you got to do and get used to, and then execute pitches when you're in a little bit of a jam, and all the while just taking another step in his build-up. So I thought it was a really good day for him.
2 straight strikeouts here from Licky, who's ahead of Harper now, 0-1. Aaron, how about Giancarlo Stanton today? I mean, 2 just rocket doubles, over 109 miles per hour off the bat. And you've talked about, you think the version we saw in October last year could be even better than the MVP version of Stanton. What about the at-bats do you think is an even elevated caliber?
Yeah, I've felt that way, guys, really since even 2019. I just feel like he's gone to another level as far as his preparation, his mindset, his understanding of him, the league, what guys are trying to do to him. I just feel like he's really good at focusing. So while, he's a little bit older than whatever he was, 27 when he won the MVP, I think the knowledge that he has while still being a pretty young guy, if he can, again, the important thing is making sure he's posting and getting out there 140, 145, whatever times. And if he does that, I'm really confident that some massive results could be there.
Gary Sanchez also off to an excellent start this spring. How important is that component, Aaron? Gary getting off to a good start this season.
Yeah, look, I don't want to overstate it, because, I think we look too much into these things sometimes, but certainly coming in and getting some immediate results coming off of last season is definitely nice. But I love his work. I love how he's looked behind the plate. I love the work he's been putting in each and every day, the ownership he's taken of his work, and excited about where he's at and what he's going to do for us.
Well, Lucas Licky strikes out the side, which means we don't get any more time with you, Aaron, but thank you so much. And,
Jerry Lane says hi.
Soon.
All right, see you guys.
Hi to Jerry Lane, and we'll chat with Matt Blake, Yankees pitching coach, coming up. Bottom of the 6th inning, Yankees a 4-0 lead on the Phillies. Brian Mitchell, the former Yankee, will take over for Ivan Nova, dealing to Gary Sanchez. Ball 1, and we get a chance now to chat with Yankees pitching coach Matt Blake. Matt, it's Ryan Ruocco, David Cohn, Meredith Marakovitz. How you doing this afternoon?
Good. How you guys doing?
Doing well, Matt. Jordan Montgomery looked pretty sharp today. Those 3 innings of work. What stood out most to you about his outing this afternoon?
I think the biggest thing is just getting him to an attack mindset early and just going after guys with his fastball, because that sets everything else up for him. So I thought he did a nice job with that.
From Tommy John surgery, what are your expectations for Montgomery this year in the way of innings?
Yeah, we're still kind of working through a lot of those plans. I think we feel pretty good about where Monty's at and the work he's put in and how he bounced back from last year. So we haven't really set any limits on any of our guys, but we just figure we're going to kind of keep monitoring things and keep having conversations. It should be pretty fluid as we go.
With Montgomery specifically, how different does his breaking stuff look to start the spring?
It's pretty consistent to what it was last year. I think there might be a little more action on the two-seam and the changeup. We talked to him a little bit more about trying to get some top spin on the curveball and increase the depth a little bit. But overall, they're in good spots, and it's really about execution for him.
It's a little bit of a different setup this year because of all the protocols. Have you found it difficult at all, Matt, shuttling back and forth between here and the minor league complex to watch the pitchers?
You know, we were actually joking about that, Hark and I, earlier, because we're over at the minor league complex, which has a lot of new facilities, and we were saying we actually want to stay over there. We got a good setup, so Booney's trying to drag us in and get everybody together.
We see him waving to the camera. Now, you mentioned some of those new facilities. The gas station was certainly a storyline early on this spring training. Can you just explain to some of the viewers exactly what has been going on inside that gas station?
Yeah, so it's a new building they got over there. It's a lot of the same tools we've been using. It's just probably more efficient than what we had before, where there's a lot of setup that need to happen and a lot of back-end work that need to happen after we capture, information, whether it's data or video. And the gas station does a nice job of creating a controlled environment that's automated with a lot of these tools. So it makes everything a lot easier. And the limitations on the staff we have, it actually sets up pretty well for this kind of environment.
How do you balance using some of those new tools and not overwhelming guys with all of the tools?
That's definitely the trick. The biggest thing that we talk about, and it's good that we have some guys who kind of came up before the tools were available, so they have harnessed their game skills. And we're talking about Kluber and Britton and Cole, and they've kind of learned to adapt to those, where we've got some of the younger guys who are more equipped to handle some of the tools, but maybe don't have the game skills yet. So we're trying to marry those together as best as possible. And as much as we want to focus on, spin rate and movement and things like that, at the end of the day, it's still about executing pitches over the plate, and that's what we're trying to get to.
Hey, Matt, you mentioned Zach Britton. A New York Post report by Dan Martin actually said that he contracted COVID back in January, lost a lot of weight because of it. How is he doing right now, and how far back is he in the spring training process as far as trying to get himself ready for the 2021 season?
He's actually doing pretty well right now. He threw a bullpen today, and he's back on track, so I imagine he'll be facing hitters sometime this week. So he's actually, we just want to kind of make sure we were taking things easy with him and not forcing him back and making sure he was recovering properly. So we're just being cautious with our guys, know it's going to be a long year, and there's going to be a lot of things we got to navigate, so didn't need to rush him necessarily out of the gates.
What do you do to navigate that? Because there's a lot of guys coming off of injuries. Then you have the 60-game season from a year ago. How do you really make sure that you're putting these guys in a position to succeed not only early on, but really for the entire season?
Right, and ultimately that's what we're trying to solve for is, not April and not May, not June. We're looking for the end of the season, and we got to win along the way. So we want these guys to get in a good rhythm now and kind of establish some baselines of, where they're at fitness-wise from a strength standpoint, a range of motion standpoint, what the stuff looks like coming out of their hands, and then I think set up some parameters for how the group as a whole, whether it's the front office, the medical staff, S&C staff, the coaching staff, all get together with the player and kind of make sure we're having consistent communication with them on how things are trending for them and maybe adjusting plans along the way. But it's definitely going to be a group effort to make sure we're on the same page about anytime something's got to change from a schedule standpoint.
Is it difficult to pull back the reins a little bit when you have guys like Corey Kluber and Jamison Tyone, who's expected to have a big year in that rotation?
Yeah, I think it is in one sense, because these guys are really excited to get back out there. They've missed some time over the years, and they're in a good spot from a health standpoint, and they're chomping at the bit. But they're also realistic about the environment we're entering into and how long the season is. And the conversations we've had to this point, they all understand the things that are challenging this year about moving forward in a 162-game season. So we haven't had too much issue yet. And obviously, it comes to the conversations going forward where it'll take some really teamwork in that end.
The rotation pretty much set as long as there are no injuries, of course. But when you look at that fifth spot, still up for debate. Is there a leader in that race in your mind right now?
Oh, gosh, yeah. We haven't got far enough into camp yet, but obviously, Davey and Herman both look really good. Mike King looked good the other day. So, I think we're going to have a lot of horses in the race, assuming we stay healthy. So that's a good problem.
What goes into the decision-making process when it comes to that fifth starter?
I think there's some things just from a development standpoint that we want to make sure, like Davey and Mike and Nelson and, some of these guys kind of get to. Obviously, Herman having his 2019 performance, he's established himself at the major league level. So I think it's just trying to figure out what's the right thing for each guy in terms of the development they need and what the team needs, and trying to balance that in terms of, who has options, who doesn't, all that type of stuff. But we obviously have some competitive names in the mix, which is nice.
When you look at Davey Garcia, still a very young arm. Do you forget sometimes just how young he is by the way he is poised on the mound?
Yeah, that is, when you think about a 21-year-old and the way he carries himself out there, it is really impressive. Just the game skills that he has for, how young he is, the ability to slow the game down, to make big pitches, to add and subtract. Those are definitely advanced for a guy that's 21 years old.
It's your second year as the pitching coach. What did you learn in year one, and what are you looking to change in year two?
I think the biggest thing is just the group conversations that we maybe didn't get to last year from a COVID standpoint. I think we're really trying to bring the group together earlier and make sure everybody's on the same page about just a lot of the things we want to do from a systematic standpoint, but we're off and running.
All right, Matt, thanks for the time. You are off the hook. End of the inning. We will be back.
Thanks so much, guys.
Welcome back to Yankee Spring Training, brought to you by Ford. Moving to the top of the 7th inning, Ryan Ruocco, David Cohn with you, along with Meredith Marakovitz. So happy to be with you on this Sunday afternoon here on Yes. David, so far, Yankee arms look pretty strong this afternoon. How about the performance from Jonathan Loaisiga following Jordan Montgomery and what you saw from him as well?
Yeah, I thought up and down the Yankees pitchers looked very sharp today. They're mixing in all their pitches as advertised. Jordan Montgomery very solid, controlling the contact and soft contact, even the 2 hits he gave up. Loaisiga, I think, is kind of under the radar this year, as you see Nick Goody's numbers on the year, former Yankee back in camp, a good slider and a veteran pitcher now at this point. But Loaisiga is the guy that's under the radar for me, Ryan, and that we've been watching his stuff, and it's so electric for the last couple of years. I think he takes a big step this year and starts to get some high leverage innings for the Yankees, as he can go multiple innings as well. He's a very useful weapon, both in multiple innings or even possibly short relief.
What makes you feel that, David, about Loaisiga? The stuff, you're right. I mean, it's there, and it does feel like the game sort of molds to his versatility now. What about seeing Loaisiga, you say, you know what, now's the time?
Yeah, he's got 3 above average pitches, and that's very rare when you think about it. You talk about above average pitches plus velocity. He has at 97 miles an hour with life. His curveball, the real downer action to it, it's got plus action to it. It's got a chance to be a real above average pitch, and along with his changeup, we saw his changeup disappearing today on strikeouts. So when, you just light up when you look at the overall repertoire of Jonathan Loaisiga, and you think, wow, if this kid has confidence and puts those 3+ pitches together, well, you've got a real weapon that the Yankees could utilize in a number of different ways.
A walk here to begin the 7th inning, issued by Goody, as Betancourt will come to the plate with a runner on first, nobody out. We also should give some credit to Lucas Litke, who struck out the side in his 1 inning of work in back of Loaisiga, facing the top of the Phillies order. The left-hander, who has not pitched in the big leagues since 2015, had a very impressive outing this afternoon as well. That's Sky to right and into the Yankee bullpen.
Ryan, Aaron Boone mentioned this earlier in the camp, that he feels like, from an overall depth standpoint, this is the best the Yankees have had since he's been here. And really, I agree with him. Over the last several years, from top to bottom, so many good arms to choose from, both in the bullpen and the rotation, and young arms on the way as well, that when you look at the camp and all the arms that are throwing from day one, boy, it's been impressive. And there is some depth, there is some power, there are choices for Aaron Boone in the organization. You talk about, well, can Corey Kluber stay healthy? Can Jameson Tyone stay healthy? What are you going to really get out of these guys? There's a lot more behind them on the way, and the overall depth, I think, really bodes well for the Yankees moving forward.
Well, we heard that a little bit even just listening to Matt Blake with Meredith Marakovits, right? When he was going through the 5th starter options, and he's talking about Davy Garcia or Domingo Germán or Michael King, and obviously we also know at some point Clark Schmidt probably will be an option as well, and you see the names up there and you start to realize, well, you know what? You feel pretty good about a lot of those options if they ended up sliding into the back end of the rotation.
Yeah, and that's not even including some of the young flamethrowers that they have that are moving up in the system, you know.
High fly ball to left center, and the catch is made by Lamar for the first out.
You know, names like Gomez and Medina, you know, a couple of young flamethrowers also on the way coming up in the system. Today it was Jordan Montgomery from the start, looked very sharp. Anytime you get a swing like that from Didi Gregorius on a curveball, you know your stuff's pretty good. Got some help on the defensive end, although that was probably a broken bat, but nonetheless a good play by DJ LeMahieu. And certainly we talked about Jordan Montgomery and his ability to get ground balls, to stay off the barrel of the bat. That was all on display today. Mixed his pitches very well. He's got 4 pitches. You know, that's the formula for Jordan Montgomery, to really mix up his pitches. Surprisingly sneaky fastball at 94 miles an hour. His velocity is a little bit above average, but not a power pitcher. Certainly a guy who mixes up all his pitches very well.
You know, Meredith talked a little bit about Montgomery and his assessing his first outing earlier in the broadcast. And it was interesting listening to him, David, because he talked about wanting to really improve his fielding. And one of the things he was most excited about after his first start was he said, I had 2 PFPs, pitcher fielding practice, and he was thrilled with that, as this one is going to be caught in shallow left by Hoy Park. But he felt like, speaking to something that was in your scouting report, how the numbers overall probably were not true to how well he pitched. He felt like one of the areas he needed to improve to help get that on balance was his fielding. You know, besides some of the bloops and bad luck with infield singles and whatnot, that he didn't help himself when it came to fielding his position.
Very interesting. I've never heard a pitcher talk about that before. It's one of the areas that he's really concentrating on, right? It's usually I'm working on a new grip or a changeup or something, but certainly moving around on the mound and helping yourself out can make a difference from game to game.
Verling chops it to third, and they'll go the short way for the final out of the inning. So a scoreless frame for Nick Goody. We will hang on right here and take a listen in to God Bless America.
Staff Sergeant, a high-end guest of the United States Air Force. Staff Sergeant Guest is a combat arms instructor for the 6th Air Refueling Wing at MacDill Air Force Base and instructs weapons courses for personnel deploying in support of the United States Special Operations Command, United States Central Command, and Air Mobility Command. The Yankees say thank you for all your sacrifice and service to our nation. Now, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we ask you to rise and remove your caps for the playing of God Bless America.
Yankees spring training on Yes is presented by Montefiore. Doing more in state-of-the-art healthcare for Westchester, the Hudson Valley, and the Bronx. Beautiful Sunday afternoon in Tampa, Florida. Bottom of the 7th inning, and the Yankees a 4-0 lead on the Phillies. Brett Gardner's grand slam in the second has accounted for all 4 runs, as Brandon Kinsler, one of those new additions to the Phillies bullpen, gonna have his first inning of work, and it's 1-1 on Ryan Lamar. David, we talked about the Phillies bullpen struggles last season, and you mentioned that it wasn't just a struggle in the context of last year, but historically so, as Lamar flies out to right. And of course, our outstanding research team got back to us with some history when it comes to the Phillies bullpen last year. So there's 6.92 ERA and the 946 opponent OPS, second highest on record by a bullpen. The only bullpen with worse numbers, the 1930 Phillies. That's it.
It was pretty easy, Ryan, to look at the Phillies this spring and understand where the improvements need to come from. And Joe Girardi developed a reputation, as Yankee fans know, for being pretty good with handling the bullpen. So it'll be interesting to see how they can improve on that. You know, a lot of the projection systems, including the Pacoda system developed by Nate Silver, has them winning about 83 games this year, and a lot of it's depending on that bullpen and what happened last year. And you know, whether they can get above that projection or not and get into the playoffs or even into the NL East race is going to depend on some of these new additions in the bullpen and how Joe Girardi can manage them. Ironically, the Pacoda projections are based off of a guy named Bill Pacoda, who was a roommate of mine, Ryan, back in the minor leagues, and Kansas City Royals player. And he was kind of referred to as the traditional, or kind of the, you know, when you talk about a replacement player, you know, or an average ball player, that was Bill Pacoda. You know, if you're gonna find a replacement player value, it was Bill Pacoda, and I don't think he was too happy about being included in that. But what a great guy, Bill Pacoda. And then there is a name and actually a person behind the Pacoda rankings that have become so famous over the years.
David, that I had no idea. That is an amazing story.
Yes, so Bill Pacoda was a really good ball player, played a lot of different positions, but he was a classic kind of your average production, you know, and that's what a lot of these rankings are based on, you know, replacement player value or whatnot. What is that based on? Well, Bill Pacoda was that guy, at least according to Nate Silver. And
have you had a chance to ask Bill at any point about how he feels about that as you see the Pacoda projected standings? Yankees projected to win 97 games. You have, David?
I have. I've seen Bill Pacoda, you know, at a couple of charity events over the years in the Midwest. And, you know, he's got a great personality, but he didn't know how to take it. He was like, what does this mean? This mean I was not a very good ball player? And what does this mean, these Pacoda rankings? I said, what it means is your name will forever be remembered.
That is going to be a ground out. Looked like Gittens thought it was a foul ball. Was not. Yankees go down 1-2-3. The Yankees spring training on Yes is brought to you by your local Ford stores. Ford is proud to be the official SUV of the New York Yankees. For current offers, visit buyfordnow.com. Ryan Rucco, David Cohn, Meredith Marakovitz with you. Kyle Barraclough into the game for the Yankees here in the 8th inning. Yankees a 4-0 lead. Bearclaw, you see his numbers in 2019 with Washington and San Francisco. First overall pick in the 2016 Major League Draft. Made his debut in September, did Mickey. Lifts that one to shallow left and into foul territory. Andrew Velazquez climbed the tarp momentarily.
Well, you mentioned Mickey Moniak, you know, was the #1 pick in 2016 out of high school. So tough to project. And that illustrates the tough part of the Major League Baseball draft compared to other sports. You know, in the NBA or the NFL, if you are the #1 pick in the draft, you know you're getting a player.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in baseball, it's a little different. You don't know, especially a high school kid. And Mickey Moniak has a lot of talent, and he's still very young, coming into his own. Phillies still feel good about him, but it's a bit of a crapshoot in baseball when you take a shot on a high schooler. That's the #1 pick in the nation.
That is going to be a foul ball as it hit the dirt. Well, Ian Anderson went 3rd in that draft. We saw Ian Anderson last season with the Braves dominate in his 6 starts. That's something that even David, Bob, and Jack and Flash were talking about the other day on the telecast in regard to the Martian, Jason Dominguez, the Yankees' top prospect, right? All the tools in the world. I think we all are very excited, and understandably so. But you still got to go through the rigors of minor league baseball and see how you handle what's a really difficult mental grind to eventually get to the show. Big swing there, foul back. One and one on C.J. Chatham. Grounds that to short. Could be 2 and is. 6-4-3 double play. 2 down here in the top of the 8th. Johan Rojas will bat now. You know, one thing that's been nice, David, hasn't it been cathartic just hearing some of the little sounds of spring, crack of the bat, but also just the murmur of the fans? We know it's not the crowd total we're used to, but there's been something just really energizing about hearing a little bit of chatter back in the crowd.
Yeah, it sure beats the piped-in sound that we had to use last year, right? I mean, this is real, even though that's very real. We see that happen. A little sunny day in Florida, time for a nap.
That's right. Hey, your chances of getting a foul ball, they go up when the crowd's only at 25%. Fans, of course, in masks and distanced. But hopefully our world continues to improve and we get to a place where we have more and more fans in the stands safely. The 3-1 inside and high as Rojas had to dip out of the way in a hurry, and he is on with 2 outs here in the top of the 8th.
There's nothing like this in all of sports. The adrenaline you get when a fastball thrown at 90+ miles an hour is coming right at you, and you got to get out of the way in a hurry. And there's no comp anywhere. No, I mentioned, Ryan, that, you know, there's no DH in the National League this year, so pitchers are going to have to hit. But I remember what that was like as a National League pitcher back for the Mets and getting thrown at a couple times and what that feels like. To see that baseball coming right at you. Nothing like it. The fear.
You still remember who did it?
Yes, I do. Still hold a grudge. I probably deserved it, though, but that's okay. The Phillies had a left-handed pitcher named Don Carmen, who pitched for them back in the 80s. Don Carmen, Phillies fans know him, know that name, and certainly Mets fans. And if you're a baseball fan, maybe you remember that left-handed pitcher. But yes, right at my head one day, Ryan. Ooh, nowhere to go. It ended up behind me, right behind my head.
Were you just frozen?
I was literally frozen. I just ducked straight down. I still remember the feeling of seeing that baseball coming right at you. Not only right at you, but right at your head.
Well, the question is, did Don get an at-bat later in that game against you?
No, he did not. But I still claim it was on purpose to this day. All hitters think that, you know, every pitch is on purpose. That's at them.
Runner goes, won't matter. Strike 3 as Bearclaws through the top of the 8th inning. The imagery of spring. The sun shining on some of the Yankees stars. LeMahieu, Cole, and Judge here in Tampa. Well, we couldn't find Don Carmen, but we found Atlee Hammaker. Look at this, David.
Snappage, too. I was ready to go. Bench is cleared. My hand was shattered. My pinky on my pitching hand was shattered, Ryan, from that pitch.
Oh. Didn't Adley Hammaker give up the grand slam to Fred Lynn in the All-Star game at Kaminsky in 1983?
Yes, that was him. It's a former Royal, too. We came up in the Royals organization together. I thought he was a friend.
Yeah, what the heck? Also, David, I mean, you talked about it with Carmen being a lefty, just like Hammaker was, and you, as a left-handed hitter with that coming at you, left on left, that's scary.
Yeah, there's no way to get out. You can't get out of the way. There's just no chance. The ball just chases you. No matter which way you go, you're frozen. If you try to back up, the ball is running towards you anyway. It just finds you. It's a helpless feeling, Ryan, to see that baseball. You've got a split second to recognize and see it coming right at you.
So we have to ask you, David, did you feel that was on purpose from Adley Hammaker?
Well, you know, in the National League game, when you pitcher on pitcher and it was a bunting situation like that was, I squared around to bunt, that a lot of National League pitchers back in the day would throw it at you like that, just to knock the bat out of your hands, to try to spoil the bunt. So was it on purpose? Yeah, kind of. He was definitely trying to knock the bat out of my hands. You know, in 1987, you know, that Mets team, coming off of the '86 World Series, the great 1986 Mets, everybody in the starting rotation got hurt in 1987. The entire rotation was wiped out, Ryan.
Wow.
From Dwight Gooden to Sid Fernandez to Ron Darling, Bobby Oida. I was the 5th starter right there. We all went on the DL for significant portions of the year that year.
Did you miss the time right after that?
I did. I was out for at least 2 months with a shattered hand.
So you probably never forget anyone who throws at you, but especially when they then cost you 2 months of a season.
Yes, you just do not forget those sorts of things.
First at bat of the afternoon for Robinson Chirinos. Provides the Yankees with some catching depth this season behind Sanchez and Higashioka. It was Chirinos who actually caught Garrett Cole yesterday in his simulation start. The old teammates. You see how incredible their numbers were together in 2019. Swing and a miss here. 2 down. Here's Andrew Velazquez. Good start to the inning for Tony Watson. Another member of the revamped Phillies bullpen. Archie Bradley, Jose Alvarado, Sam Coonrod, Brandon Kinsler, Tony Watson, Hector Rendon. I mean, they really completely overhauled the entire pen.
Well, one thing's for sure with the Phillies. Excuse me, Ryan. One thing's for sure with the Phillies is that you don't go out and hire Dave Dombrowski as your general manager to rebuild your franchise. You hire him to win now. And that is his reputation. That's what he's done everywhere he's been.
See the resume for Dave Dombrowski. When he was hired at 31 years old with Montreal, was the youngest GM in baseball, was a world champion with the Marlins, had a great run in Detroit, and then a title in Boston as well. Well, this was a Phillies team, David, to your point about winning now. Last year, they were in position to go to the playoffs, first year with Joe Girardi, and then the bottom just fell out. They lost 7 of their final 8 games and ended up finishing 1 game out of a wild card spot. But there is considerable talent already here with the Phillies in the rotation and in the lineup. And it was really about trying to get that bullpen to a place where they can win now. And a walk drawn by Velazquez. Yankees fans, become a Yankees insider today. Receive the latest video highlights, up-to-date news, features, ticket specials, and more. All delivered free to your inbox wherever you are. Sign up today at Yankees.com/subscribe. And if you already have a Yankees.com account, log in to manage your preferences now. Don't miss a moment. Visit Yankees.com/subscribe today. Here's Jay Bruce. Bruce homered in Bradenton yesterday. And Velazquez just diving back safely. Be interesting to watch Bruce as well as Derek Dietrich throughout this spring and whether or not they could factor into the Yankees roster. Certainly both have the kind of power built for Yankee Stadium. And Bruce yesterday was talking about, he was asked whether or not, he felt like he was good enough to make the roster. He said, well, I know I'm good enough. If I'm healthy, I know I belong. As he hits this in the air to left field. And it'll be run down by Rojas for the final out of the 8th. We go to the 9th at George M. Steinbrenner Field. Thanks for coming back to Yankees Spring Training, brought to you by Ford. We have cruised into the top of the 9th inning at the Boss. The Yankees a 4-0 lead over the Phillies. Yankees have gotten outstanding pitching today, started by Jordan Montgomery, backed up by Jonathan Loaisiga, and a team of relievers as Brooks Kriske comes on to try and close things out. Yankees only runs coming on a Brett Gardner grand slam back in the 2nd. Rodolfo Duran takes down 1-1. One and 2.
You know, when I look at the Phillies, Ryan, you know, and you think about it, and then we see Brooks Christie's resume as well. And Scottsdale, Arizona, in 1994, 6th-round pick. He's been good in the minor leagues, too. Good numbers. Got himself into the mix. Saw a little bit of him last year. But I think back to 2009 and the matchup in the World Series. And your podcast partner, CC Sabathia, was so big in that series, in that 2009 World Series championship. And the Phillies trying to go back-to-back. They won it in 2008, beat the Phillies, or the Phillies beat the Rays. And the Yankees, maybe one of the most important franchise championships, I think, Ryan, because it was the first year of the new Yankee Stadium. And CC Sabathia led the Yankees to that championship. And both teams trying to get back there.
Yeah. And Joe Girardi, of course, was managing the Yankees at that time against the Phillies, now in the Phillies dugout as their manager this afternoon against the Yankees. Game 6 was actually on, yes, last night. Yankees Classics. You know what I always think about when I think about that series too, David? Damaso Marte. Remember how huge a role he ended up playing out of the pen just for that series with him against Howard and Utley and Ibanez?
Yeah, he was unhittable in those spots.
And he hadn't had a great season by any means. And hadn't had a great Yankee run up until that point between 08 and his limited action in 09. But then in the playoffs was just sensational against Philadelphia.
Two really good teams.
Yeah.
Well matched. Phillies, the defending champion, as I said, trying to go back-to-back. Look at that Yankees infield. How about that? Teixeira, Cano, Jeter, and A-Rod.
And Posada behind the plate.
Yes. Of course, the Phillies with Rollins and Utley up the middle.
They had a dominant Cliff Lee at the top of their rotation.
Cole Hamels.
I think that was also, as Krisky walks the first 2 here in the 9th, that was also Yankees fans getting a feel for what Mets fans experience when it comes to Phillies fans and just how raucous they can be. You see how that World Series played out with Matsui, the 6 RBI Game 6, helping solidify his MVP award.
Go cross up on the signs. See Chirinos looking at Krisky, trying to get on the same page, because catchers like to know what's coming usually.
Just as a general policy, yeah.
It's only one catcher I've ever heard of, and that was Thurman Munson, who would look out at Goose Gossage if Goose ever shook him off, and he would say, throw whatever you want. I don't care. You don't like what I'm putting down? The heck with you. I'll catch whatever you throw. Like only Thurman Munson could do.
It takes a special sort of bravery and toughness to be cool with being on the other end of that and not knowing what's coming.
I never got a chance to pitch to Thurman Munson, but all the stories I've heard from firsthand sources are just amazing.
And it's full now on Betancourt. Today after the game, keep it right here to see the latest edition of Yankees Magazine and get exclusive behind-the-scenes content and features from Bombers Camp. That's today immediately following the game, only on Yes. And again, Kriske and Chirinos are going to try and get on the same page here. So Chirinos will not pull off a Thurman Munson there. Talking about that 09 World Series. The final out, Shane Victorino rolling over to Robinson Cano. And the Yankees clinching their 27th World Championship. Hideki Matsui, the MVP. And ringing in the new stadium with a title. Joe Girardi, who wore 27 on his back, had to change his jersey to 28 after that. 3 titles as a player in the midst of your run, David, and that one as a manager.
That was a great team, and he did a great job with that team. And as I said, that was an important championship for the franchise overall. CC Sabathia especially good in that series. In that season.
So Kriske wins that battle with Betancourt. And now we'll face Luke Williams, who popped out to short his first time up. Nice off-speed delivery there from Kriske, 0-1.
It's like a time warp, that shot right there, Ryan. I mean, with the mustache and the hair, that could be circa 1978.
Remind you of some of those at-bats you were talking about having to take earlier in your career. Yeah, that is quite the look. Nice job by Kriske, who makes short work of Luke Williams and his mustache. Can you grow out a legitimate mustache, David? Can you pull it off?
No, I still can't. At 58 years old, still cannot do it.
Yankees 1 out away from wrapping things up this afternoon at Steinbrenner Field. As Verling takes a strike, 0-1. Nice bounce back here from Kriske after walking the first 2 hitters of the inning and falling behind Betancourt. Montgomery started it. Gardner's grand slam has accounted for all of the runs. It's 1-1 on Verling. Nice stop there from Chirinos. And it's 3-1. That's punched to right field, and that will do it. Catch made by Brito. And the Yankees win it 4-0. We'll come back and wrap things up in a moment. The Yankees win it 4-0 over the Phillies.